Good day, good day. I'm not where I usually am. Today I'm at Fairlawn in Houston. And to know where this is, I haven't really fully looked at this entire cemetery yet. I've just been to this section. To give you an idea where I am, IKEA is right there behind that building. So to get here, go to IKEA, turn right to go to IKEA, but don't turn into the parking lot. Just go down the street and turn left. The reason I'm here, it's Memorial Day, but also it's just a coincidence that I'm able to come here today. And I came specifically to see one grave, and I have walked this entire section and a few rows of the adjoining sections, and I cannot find the headstone. The Find a Grave photo of it is not that old, so it cannot be buried by now. And I am wearing wedge heels because I did not know that I would have the opportunity to come here. I would never have worn wedge heels to a cemetery after it rained. Yes, I have sunk into a couple holes. Yes, I've screamed a couple times. But thank God I've had no injuries. The person, I'm going to very gingerly walk back to the road to walk to my truck. And I say that out loud because I don't want to lose track of thought and tumble. The person I came to see, there's a long story. I always say, it's a long story, I'll try to keep it to it. I'll try to keep it short. This person is not a relative. He might be, but I don't think he is. And he has been on our family tree for decades. And myself and my cousin Melanie, who used to live in Homer, Alaska with her husband for decades, has moved to Colorado. She is a genealogy expert. She has helped me about this part of the family. But the gentleman that's supposed to be buried here, I cannot locate his headstone. I've walked this entire thing. I'm so disappointed I could not find his headstone. But he is allegedly a great-granduncle of the little side of my family. That's my mom's side. Honestly, I'm for real when I say this. I'm going to try and keep it brief. My mom's father was an orphan. His father was an orphan. And in trying to, covering up license plates, and trying to locate this literal ghost of a man, led us to a family that we thought was ours. And I was so involved. Sorry about this shot, but I need a hand to haul myself into my vehicle while wearing wedge shoes. So hold on, everybody. Here we go. Heave! So while looking for this family, I uncovered and corrected some things that I'm kind of proud of. But the man we're looking for, my great-grandfather, was Jack Little. And he is the ghost of a man that we just cannot find. And, you know, I've mentioned before that my grandfather, my mother's father, he was a literal ghost of a man. Me and some cousins and my siblings, we only just recently kind of decided, at least I voiced out loud, that I give up. Because when you go decades and you're not on census records and you're not in city directories and not even police report, that's intentional. So I can only think that this man is a literal ghost out of intent. So I've given up on my grandfather, but all those years looking for his father, the family tree led me to his wife, Mrs. May Little, and then her family. Her maiden name was Booth, and that Booth family is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Real good read. And it killed me to take them off the family tree when I realized that they were not our family. And all the years that I was researching, trying to find anything on my grandfather, I kept saying, who has 5 children and named 2 of them the same? Because there was 2 Franks in the family, and the dates were okay. They could have been siblings, not twins or anything, but nothing overlapping weirdly. And when we discovered our grandfather's birth certificate that had a name on it that was not May Little, the name was Flora Pierce, we're like, oh, okay, maybe he was an indiscretion. Maybe he was adopted by his father's wife, May Little. So we thought, well, maybe that's why there's 2 children with the same name. So when you're trying to find somebody, what do? You research everybody in the circumference. You research everybody around. So in researching May, a good place to go is, where is she buried? Who is buried with her? And there was always a Jack C. Little attached to family trees. And this man was a lawyer, and he was in the same city in Abilene as May Little. And of course, you would think logically that's him, and they're even buried in the same cemetery. But I had absolute, for sure, records of her husband, Jack Little, dying in Star of Hope homeless shelter in Houston. Indisputable. The death certificate says she is his wife. He's buried in a pauper's grave. I think here. I think in this cemetery. I think he's buried next to his son, Leonard C. Little, who was supposed to be in Section K here. I'm trying. Look, I've already talked 7 minutes. I'm sorry, cuz while searching the circumference, the family, I see that this man is attached to May's record, and his name is Jack C. Little, and there's pictures of him, and he's wearing suits, and his name is even on the photo, like it was in a registry or some sort of board on an advertisement or something. It was circling his name, and it was several different middle initials. So it was not our Jack C. Little, obviously. And then, it didn't help that they're in the same town, didn't help that he was married to the same cemetery. So I researched those cemetery records in Abilene, and he's buried with his wife in a complete different section. And May is buried with, I think, one of her children in that cemetery. So I reached out to a few people who had that tree and said, hey, this is a mistake. And they were very good, which is unusual in the genealogy community. They were very good about saying, thank you, you're right, and they did correct it. Unfortunately, I've come across people in the genealogy community that is very doggedly protective of their information they find, and they take high offense if you tell them something's wrong. So that was very nerve-wracking that I did that. So even though I know definitively this man is not my relative, you spend so many years looking into every aspect of his life. He was a veteran, and I don't think he ever married, had any children, but he was a person that I thought was in my family for a long time. So I came and I looked for him. But let's see, the cemetery, when I got here, I had no idea where to look, and some guys were cruising around on golf carts. Let me see if I can put my seatbelt on while using one hand. There was guys rolling around golf carts, and every now and then 2 would get side by side and sit and chat. So I waved at one, and he came to me, and I said, because on the Find a Grave where there's a photo of Leonard, it actually says where he is buried. That was amazing. It said Section K, Lot 112, Space 5. So there was no map, but maybe there is one. I just didn't see it because I found this guy, and he led me right to this section. And when I saw no markers as saying where the rows are and such, I thought, okay, I'm just going to start pulling up names of headstones, and then I'm going to see where it says they are. Then I will know where I am in the cemetery. So you do that. So in your head, you kind of make your own map in your head. I plugged in to find a grave. I'm not kidding you. Maybe 100 of these headstones. Maybe 100. I was constantly tapping in names, and out of all of them, maybe 5 had their location. Maybe 5. There was very few. Like there was maybe 2 that was not listed. Like nobody had made a memorial find for them. But for the most part, they're all on Find a Grave, which is wonderful. But very few to none had their actual location. And the few that did, it just said Little Arlington. So apparently slang, they call this Little Arlington, which is lovely. But it is Section K. Right here is Section K. And I know for a fact Leonard has a flat grave marker. And so I walked every row in my wedge heels. Even went a little further, went across that street, went across this street. Could not find him. Maybe he's covered up by the moss and such. I don't know. And he had a very easy to recognize, even though it's a flat grave marker. You see those patinaed headstones that's green, almost green like that. His was like that, but not completely. Just the letters are. So it almost looks like it's a gray headstone, and just the letters stick out because they're that turquoise patinaed color. But I could not find it. I plugged in name after name after name. Many of those rows I went up and down twice. But I tried. I tried to come and say hello and honor a veteran who I thought was my family for literal decades. And as it turns out, it was not. But I thought they have a beautiful family. In the research of this family, to me, where you make assumptions and such, and I'm sorry for that. There's an interesting, I wonder if this is babies. To my left, and I'm not going to put the camera because there's a car there. I wonder if that's babies. It's all, yeah. Anyway, that's for another discussion. That's a young man sitting there. I'm losing my train of thought. While looking up the facts of May Booth Little and her children and her husband, it's just kind of sad, and you can make assumptions based on the facts, which were such as census records. You know, one census, she's married, but her husband's not in the household with her. And another census record, she's widowed. But Jack C. is on the same census in Houston, living at the Star of Hope mission. I wonder, it's possible, I'm looking at these headstones or flat grave markers. I wonder if he was an alcoholic. It's possible for someone to live in a homeless shelter for so many years. You know, what could the reason be, you know? And then again, you know, back in the day, you were in a directory, and I think it was like a advertising promotional thing. It was just, you know, for businesses. But I don't even think it had maybe it had their phone number on it, but it said their name and had their spouse, and it even said what their occupation was. God, there's 40, 50 years worth of those. And not only is my great-grandfather not in that, neither is my grandfather. They were literal ghosts of men. But May was, and so were her children. In many years, her children was with her. Some were not. But something I did notice is from one year to the next, that woman was living in a new house, different house. So I think this woman, who I thought was my great-grandmother, who I love, I love the great-grandmothers that I have on my family tree. I'm proud of them. This woman I'd be very proud to have as my great-grandmother. But look what she did. And as I'm talking, I'm looking at these headstones. Look what she did in her life. Her husband left her, in the 30s and 40s, and she handled it. She worked. She had children, and they grew up, and they worked, and they had careers. And unfortunately, she moved many times. I don't know if that was due to the economy. I don't recall ever seeing another man on any census. I don't think she ever remarried. Bless her. Maybe it was a bad experience, you know. But that's the story of the May Booth Little family, and how I thought they were our family. And it's why I'm at the cemetery today to pay respects to her veteran son. And I wish he was here so I could have said hello. You know what I mean. And while walking these headstones in my wedge heels, many times I had to say, excuse me, pardon me, sorry. I do not like walking on graves, but look at this tree. Is that tree formed to make a bench? Did they grow it to make a bench? That is really interesting. And I'm exhausted, too exhausted to go out there and look. It looks like it was 3 trees. I can't tell. Looks like they made a bench out of it. I don't know. But it was very nice to see this cemetery. They had so many flags out. This is a perpetual care cemetery. Most of it is. But so that's the story. That's where I am. And I'm heading home now. It'll take me a good hour to get back to east of Houston. And it's not too bad of a day. It was supposed to rain all day. It was expected to rain all day today. 60% off and on all day today. And my friends that volunteer for Crown Hill Cemetery, we were going to decorate for Christmas, but the weather report said rain off and on. So we moved it to next week. Oh, I'm missing my turn. But you know what? Let's do one more drive-through. Well, I will. I'm not going to talk your heads off any much longer than I did. But something I noticed that depending on what I put in the title of my video determines how many views I get. And I'm indifferent, but it's interesting to see that if I put something about the Swedish royal family, I'll get almost 1,000 views. But so for whatever reason, if you're here, would it kill you to subscribe? Sheesh. Come on now. It's free, y'all. It is free. And it benefits me nothing, but I think it's funny to see the, not funny, but interesting to see the metrics. And I hope I'm on a true road. Look at these columbariums, if I'm saying that right. This is a lovely cemetery. There's a huge Jewish section here. And matter of fact, one of the entrances is named for it. Bethel something. But again, if you want to, oh, those are beautiful. If you want to come here, just go to IKEA in Houston. And instead of turning into IKEA, just continue down. I'm thinking of having one of these at my grave. I'm thinking of it. I really am. And like having where that black square is, having it clear glass. And having my urn in it behind the glass. And then maybe the bottom one have maybe some knickknacks or something. Why not? And then that little vase, anybody that wanted could put some flowers. If anyone visited my grave when I'm gone. Circling this while filming reminds me, stupid story, of when I was in Kuwait. They had one of those roundabouts that I used to call a circle round just to annoy Ziad. They had a roundabout that was like 6 lanes wide. It was terrifying. I videotaped it once, circling through it once, and That's one of the videos and pictures I will never see because it got lost in a rollover accident on the 6 ring motorway. Never will see that again. However, because I don't plan on going to Kuwait ever again. So I've done talked. That is so redneck. Speaking of, let me tell you something redneck. You know you live in the country when your exterminator greets you with a picture of him and his donkey. I kid you not. I am not kidding. My exterminator texted me yesterday with a selfie of him and his donkey. He says it's his baby and her name is Jewel. Yep. Sent me a picture of him with his donkey, who he refers to as his baby, and calls her Jewel. So you know you're in the country. That's it. I have already, I'm not going to say I've done talked to you. I have already talked your heads off for 3.5 hours. I'm about to get out here and get on I-10 East Freeway on Saturday and book it home. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Get your Christmas tree up already now. Come on.